I never thought I'd become the woman who destroys her husband's career. The first sign something was wrong came on a Tuesday afternoon. Miami sunshine poured through the windows of our oceanfront mansion as I reviewed our family finances. The spreadsheet on my laptop screen blurred as I stared at an unfamiliar company name, Cruise Ventures. 6 of our most valuable properties worth over $20 million had been transferred to this entity over the past 3 months. Properties we'd acquired using my family inheritance and the money I'd saved during my accounting career. Properties I'd helped select, renovate, and manage while supporting Raphael's real estate empire. My hand trembled as I clicked through the transfer documents. The signature at the bottom looked like mine, but I'd never signed these papers, never even seen them before today. Raphael had been distant lately, working late, missing dinners, taking mysterious weekend business trips. I'd tried to ignore the cologne that wasn't his, the lipstick stain once on his collar that he explained away. Just paranoia, I'd told myself, pushing away the doubts. But seeing these documents made everything crystallize with painful clarity. I picked up my phone and called Marco, a private investigator an old college friend had recommended. "I need information on Cruise Ventures," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "And I need surveillance on my husband." 3 days later, Marco's text arrived, "I have everything. Meet at Blue Harbor Cafe at 2 p.m. The cafe was busy with the lunch crowd when I arrived, wearing large sunglasses and a hat pulled low. Marco slid a manila envelope across the table without ceremony. "You were right to be suspicious," he said grimly. I opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside were dozens of photographs Raphael entering a luxury high-rise with a young woman, dining at exclusive restaurants I'd never been to, kissing her passionately in the elevator of what appeared to be an expensive condo. "Her name is Isabella Cruz, 30 real estate broker," Marco explained. "Cruise Ventures is her company, registered 6 months ago." My throat tightened as I flipped through the photos. The woman was stunning tall, slender, with glossy dark hair and the confidence of someone who knew exactly what she wanted. "There's more," Marco continued. "They're planning a major auction next month to sell off those properties to fund a new development project, the Coastal Heights Resort." I stared at him, disbelief warring with rage. "He's selling my properties to fund a project with her." Marco nodded. "The auction is being advertised as the real estate event of the year. Every high roller in Miami will be there." I put the photos back in the envelope, my decision made. "Send me your full report and bill." My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white as I drove to Raphael's downtown office. I hadn't called ahead. I wanted to see his face when confronted with the truth. The receptionist tried to stop me, but I brushed past her. "Mrs. Martinez, you can't—" I pushed open the door to Raphael's corner office without knocking. He looked up from his desk, annoyance flashing across his face before settling into a practiced smile. "Elena, what a surprise. I'm in the middle of—" I tossed the photos onto his desk, watching as they scattered across his pristine workspace. "Cruise Ventures," I said, my voice deadly calm. "Care to explain?" Raphael's expression shifted, the mask of the devoted husband falling away to reveal something colder, more calculating. He picked up one of the photos, studying it before setting it down with deliberate care. "I see you've been investigating me," he said, leaning back in his chair. "Not very trusting of you." "Not very trustworthy of you," I shot back. "You forged my signature. You transferred my properties." "Our properties," he corrected, his tone condescending. "Properties purchased with my family money," I said. "Properties I helped build." Raphael sighed, as if dealing with a difficult child. "Elena, I was going to talk to you about this after everything was finalized." "Finalized?" I almost choked on the word. "You mean after you'd stolen everything?" He stood up, coming around the desk. "I want a divorce," he said flatly. "Isabella and I have plans that don't include you." The words hit me like a physical blow. 15 years of marriage dismissed in a single sentence. I'm prepared to be generous, he continued. $2 million, the house in Coral Gables, your car. I stared at him. This stranger wearing my husband's face. And if I don't accept your generous offer? His smile turned cruel. Then you get nothing. My lawyers will insure it. Those transfers were illegal, I said. You forged my signature. Raphael laughed, the sound chilling me. Prove it. It will be your word against mine. Who do you think people will believe, the respected developer or the bitter, aging wife? The contempt in his voice made something inside me harden into resolve. You'll regret this, I said quietly. No, Elena, I won't, he replied, dismissing me with a wave of his hand. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have an empire to build. I walked out, my mind racing. In the elevator, my phone pinged with a text from Sophia, our daughter. Mom, what's going on? Dad says you're trying to ruin things for him. Why can't you just let him be happy? My heart sank. He'd already gotten to our daughter, spinning his narrative, painting me as the villain. I typed back, it's complicated. Honey, can we talk in person? Her reply was immediate. I'm busy with finals. Dad says you're just jealous because he's moved on. Please stop making this difficult for everyone. I slumped against the elevator wall, tears finally breaking free. In a matter of hours, I'd lost my husband, my daughter's trust, and potentially my financial security. But as the elevator doors opened to the lobby, I straightened my spine and wiped away my tears. Elena Martinez wasn't going down without a fight. The next morning, I called Lila Torres, my best friend and one of Miami's top real estate attorneys. I need your help, I said when she answered. It's about Raphael. Lila's voice sharpened instantly. What's that bastard done now? 2 hours later, we sat in her office, documents spread between us. Lila's expression grew darker with each page she reviewed. This is blatant fraud, she said, tapping the forged signatures. He's not even trying to be subtle. Can we prove it? I asked. Lila nodded, determination flashing in her eyes. Handwriting experts, timing of the transactions, the fact you weren't physically present when some of these were signed, we can build a case. She leaned forward, her gaze intense. But Elena, even with proof of fraud, legal battles are long and expensive. Raphael has connections throughout the Miami legal system. I thought of Raphael's smug face, his certainty that he would win. I don't just want to fight him in court, I said slowly. I want to destroy him at his own game. A slow smile spread across Lila's face. Now that sounds like the Elena I know. Lila tapped her perfectly manicured nails against her desk. Tell me about this auction they're planning. As I explained what Marco had discovered, Lila's eyes lit up with an idea. What if we don't just stop the auction? What if we use it to expose Raphael and Isabella to all of Miami's elite? She grabbed a legal pad, beginning to sketch out a plan. First, we file an emergency injunction to freeze the properties, but we time it strategically. I leaned forward, hope flickering to life. What do you mean? We let them proceed with all their planning, get the buyers lined up, the press involved. Lila explained, then we strike at the last possible moment when it will cause maximum damage to their reputation. A plan began to take shape between us. We would need evidence, timing, and allies. Lila picked up her phone. I want you to meet some people who might be interested in helping us take Raphael down. The following evening, I found myself in a private dining room at La Marina, one of Miami's most exclusive restaurants. 5 women sat around the table, each with a story about Raphael Martinez. Gabriela, an investor who'd lost millions when Raphael diverted funds from a project. Diane, whose waterfront property was undervalued and practically stolen through Raphael's manipulative tactics. Teresa, a former employee who'd been sexually harassed and then blacklisted in the industry when she complained. Claudia, whose family home had been demolished after Raphael bribed city officials to change zoning laws. And Maria, whose brother had worked construction for Raphael and died in an accident caused by cut corners on safety. "We've been waiting for a chance to bring him down," Gabriella said, her voice hard with years of resentment. "Each of us has a piece of the puzzle," Teresa added. "But together, with you leading the charge, we can finally get justice," Maria finished. For the first time since discovering Raphael's betrayal, I felt a surge of power. I wasn't alone in this fight. Over the next 2 weeks, we gathered evidence, building a comprehensive picture of Raphael's corruption, bank records showing misappropriation of investor funds, emails discussing bribes to city officials, text messages between Raphael and Isabella planning how to cut me out of my properties. And most damning of all, a recording from Teresa's time working for Raphael, where he explicitly discussed forging my signature. One evening, as I sat reviewing documents at home, the front door opened. Sophia stood in the entryway, her expression uncertain. "Mom," she called, "can we talk?" My heart leapt, but I kept my voice calm. "Of course. Honey, what's wrong?" She sat beside me on the couch, fidgeting with her bracelet, a nervous habit from childhood. "I heard Dad on the phone with Isabella," she said quietly. He was laughing about you." Pain flashed across her young face. "Isabella said they were going to enjoy watching you beg on the street, and Dad just laughed." Anger flared in my chest, not for myself, but for my daughter having to hear such cruelty. "I'm so sorry you had to hear that," I said, taking her hand. Sophia squeezed my fingers, tears welling in her eyes. "He told me you were crazy, that you were making things up because you were jealous." Her voice broke. I believed him. "Mom, I'm so sorry." I pulled her into a hug, feeling her shoulders shake with silent sobs. "It's okay," I whispered. "He's very convincing when he wants to be." Sophia pulled back, wiping her eyes. "I want to help you," she said with sudden fierceness. "Whatever you're planning, I want in." The determination in her eyes, so like my own, made my resolve strengthen. "It might get ugly," I warned. "He doesn't deserve your protection," Sophia replied. "Not anymore." With Sophia's help, our plan gained a crucial inside perspective. She had access to Raphael's home office, his calendar, his private communications with Isabella. The pieces were falling into place, but we needed one more element: public exposure. Raphael's power came from his reputation in Miami society. To truly destroy him, we needed to shatter that image in the most public way possible. I reached out to Carmen Rodriguez, an investigative journalist who'd been trying to uncover Raphael's corrupt dealings for years. "I have evidence," I told her over coffee at a quiet cafe. "Real evidence of fraud, bribery, and misconduct." Carmen's eyes widened as I outlined what we'd discovered. "This could end his career," she said. "Maybe even send him to prison." "I don't want this published yet," I explained. "I need you to hold the story until after the auction." Carmen raised an eyebrow. "You have something planned?" I smiled. "Let's just say, you'll want to attend the Cruz Martinez luxury property auction next Friday. It's going to be quite a show." The day before the auction, we set our plan in motion. Lila filed emergency injunctions on all 6 properties, with affidavits from handwriting experts confirming the forgeries. The judge, thankfully not one of Raphael's cronies, granted our request by late afternoon. The properties were legally frozen; they couldn't be sold at auction. But we didn't notify Raphael or Isabella. Not yet. That evening, I received a call from a blocked number. "Is this Elena Martinez?" A woman's voice purred. I recognized it immediately from the recordings Sophia had provided. "Isabella," I replied coolly. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" Her laugh was like breaking glass, sharp and dangerous. "I just wanted to personally invite you to our auction tomorrow," she said. Raphael thought it would be in poor taste, but I insisted. My grip tightened on the phone. "How considerate of you. It's important to me that you see what real success looks like." Isabella continued. Raphael and I are building something extraordinary, something you never could have helped him achieve." I kept my voice level, refusing to give her the satisfaction of hearing my anger. I wouldn't miss it for the world. I could almost hear her smile. "Perfect, do dress appropriately. Won't you all of Miami's elite will be there?" After she hung up, I sat in the stillness of my home office, mentally reviewing our plan one last time. Tomorrow would change everything. I slept surprisingly well that night, waking with the clarity that comes from absolute certainty. Today, I would take back what was mine, not just my properties, but my dignity, my daughter's respect, and my place in the world Raphael had tried to steal from me. I chose my outfit with care, a crimson power suit, elegant yet commanding. My makeup was flawless, my hair styled to perfection. I looked like a woman in complete control of her destiny. Sophia met me for breakfast, dressed in a complimentary navy suit. "You look ready for battle," she said, admiration in her eyes. I smiled, squeezing her hand. "We both do." The Four Seasons ballroom had been transformed for the auction. Large screens displayed the properties, their features highlighted with professional photography and slick marketing copy. Waiters circulated with champagne and canapes. Miami's wealthiest and most influential citizens mingled, checkbooks ready. I spotted Raphael and Isabella near the front of the room, the perfect power couple. He in an impeccably tailored suit, she in a designer dress that probably cost more than some people's cars. They moved among their guests with practiced charm, accepting congratulations and admiration. Sophia and I entered separately, as planned. I saw Raphael's eyes widen slightly when he spotted me, then narrow with suspicion. Isabella noticed his reaction and followed his gaze, her perfect smile faltering for just a moment before she smoothed her features and whispered something to him. He nodded, visibly relaxing. They thought I was here to watch helplessly as they profited from their betrayal. They had no idea what was coming. Lila arrived with Carmen and the other women from our alliance, spreading strategically throughout the room. Each had a role to play in what was about to unfold. At precisely 2 p.m., the auctioneer took the stage, welcoming everyone and praising Raphael and Isabella's visionary new venture. Raphael stepped up to the microphone, his smile radiant with success. "Raphael, thank you all for coming today. Isabella and I are thrilled to present these exceptional properties as we embark on our most ambitious project yet, Coastal Heights Resort." The audience applauded politely. "Raphael, before we begin the bidding, I'd like to say a few words about the future of real estate in Miami." As Raphael launched into his practice speech, Lila caught my eye and nodded. It was time. She strode confidently to the side of the stage, accompanied by 2 courthouse officials. One handed a document to the auctioneer, who frowned in confusion as he read it. The auctioneer leaned toward Raphael, interrupting his speech to whisper urgently in his ear. Raphael's smile froze, his face paling slightly. Isabella stepped forward, taking the paper and scanning it rapidly. Her perfectly composed expression cracked, panic flashing in her eyes. "Raphael, ladies and gentlemen, it seems we're experiencing a minor legal complication. If you'll bear with us for just a moment." Lila stepped forward, her voice carrying clearly through the ballroom. "Lila, it's more than a minor complication. Mr. Martinez, the court has issued an emergency injunction freezing all 6 properties listed in today's auction due to evidence of fraud and forgery." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Isabella grabbed Raphael's arm, her smile now brittle and forced. "Isabella, this is just a misunderstanding. Raphael's bitter ex-wife is trying to interfere with legitimate business." I took that as my cue, moving toward the stage. "I'm not his ex-wife yet," I said clearly, "and there's nothing legitimate about this business." The room fell silent, all eyes turning to me. Raphael's face contorted with rage, but before he could speak, Sophia stepped up beside me. "Sophia, my father forged my mother's signature to steal properties purchased with her family money. Shock rippled through the crowd at the sight of Raphael's daughter standing against him. Raphael's face reddened with fury. "Raphael, Sophia, what are you doing? We talked about this." Isabella tried to salvage the situation, her voice honeyed with false sincerity. "Isabella, everyone please. Family disputes shouldn't interfere with business. We can reschedule." "There won't be a reschedule," I interrupted, nodding to Gabriella, who pressed a button on her tablet. The large screens around the room, meant to display property details, suddenly showed something very different. Emails between Raphael and Isabella discussing the forgery of my signature, bank transfers showing investor funds diverted to personal accounts, text messages planning how to force me out of my home. The evidence was damning and unmistakable. Gasps and outraged murmurs filled the room. Raphael lunged toward the AV controls, but was blocked by Maria's brother's friends, construction workers, who had lost colleagues to Raphael's negligence. "Raphael, turn that off immediately," he shouted, desperation edging his voice. "This is slander." "It's not slander if it's true," Carmen called out, holding up her press credentials. "And I have verified every document being shown." Isabella's composure finally shattered completely. She rounded on Raphael, her voice shrill with panic. "Isabella, you said this was foolproof. You promised me no one could stop us." Raphael's face contorted with rage. "Shut up, Isabella, not here." But Isabella was beyond caution now, fear overriding her calculated facade. "Isabella, don't tell me to shut up. I didn't want to forge anything. That was your idea. You said Elena would never find out." The crowd watched in stunned silence as they turned on each other, their united front crumbling under pressure. I stepped onto the stage, taking the microphone with steady hands. The room fell silent. "For 15 years, I supported Rafael Martinez," I began, my voice clear and strong. "I invested my family money in his business. I raised our daughter while he built his empire." I gestured to the screen still displaying evidence of his corruption. "This is how he repaid that loyalty: fraud, theft, betrayal." I looked directly at Raphael, meeting his furious gaze without flinching. "You thought you could discard me, Raphael, that I would disappear quietly with the scraps you offered." A cold smile curved my lips. "You forgot who I am. You forgot that I was the one who managed the finances, who built relationships with investors, who knew every detail of your business." Raphael moved toward me, but security alerted by Lila earlier stepped forward to block his path. "Ladies and gentlemen," I continued, addressing the shocked audience, "I apologize for the disruption to your afternoon. Obviously, this auction cannot proceed, as these properties legally belong to me." I paused, letting my gaze sweep across the influential crowd. "However, if you're interested in legitimate investment opportunities, I'm launching my own development company next month. I'd be honored to discuss potential partnerships with those who value integrity and transparency." Several prominent investors nodded, already pulling out business cards. Raphael watched in horror as his network began shifting allegiance before his eyes. Isabella, seeing the writing on the wall, attempted to distance herself from the unfolding disaster. "Isabella, I had no idea about any forgery," she declared loudly. "Raphael assured me everything was legal." Raphael's face contorted with disbelief at her betrayal. "Raphael, you lying bitch. This was your idea from the start?" As they descended into public mudslinging, I stepped off the stage, head held high. Sophia took my arm, pride shining in her eyes. "Sophia, you were magnificent, Mom." The aftermath was swift and devastating for Raphael and Isabella. Carmen's exposé ran the next day, detailing years of corruption and fraud. Investors filed lawsuits. The district attorney opened an investigation. Within a week, Raphael's empire began to crumble. Isabella fled Miami, her reputation in the real estate world destroyed. Raphael was left alone to face the consequences of his actions. 3 months later, I stood on the balcony of my oceanfront home, watching the sunset paint the sky in vibrant oranges and pinks. Sophia sat beside me, home from college for the weekend. "The DA called today," I told her. "Raphael's taking a plea deal, 2 years in prison, restitution to investors, and most of his assets seized." Sophia nodded, her expression complicated. "Do you think he'll ever understand what he did wrong?" I sighed, considering the question. "I doubt it. Men like your father don't believe the rules apply to them." We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. "I filed the paperwork for the Elena Martinez Foundation today," I said. "We'll be helping women rebuild after financial abuse and fraud." Sophia smiled, squeezing my hand. "From victims to warriors," she said. "I like it." My new real estate company was thriving, focused on ethical development and affordable housing. The properties Raphael had tried to steal were now being used to generate income for charitable causes. I had transformed my pain into purpose, my betrayal into something beautiful. That night, as I prepared for bed, I caught my reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't broken or bitter. She was powerful, confident, whole. Raphael had tried to erase me from my own life, to reduce me to a footnote in his story. Instead, I had reclaimed my narrative and written a new chapter 1 where I was the hero of my own journey. And that, my friends, is the most satisfying revenge of all. If my story resonates with you, please know you're not alone. Many women face betrayal and attempts to diminish their worth. But remember, your value isn't determined by someone else's perception. Your strength is within you, waiting to be unleashed. If you have your own story of triumph over betrayal, I'd love to hear it in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of women reclaiming their power. We'll be back tomorrow with another journey of resilience and revenge. Until then, stand tall, stay strong, and never let anyone write your story for you.